In a world where content is limitless, two dudes forge an unbreakable bond to become a part of something larger than themselves by creating a podcast unlike nothing the world has ever heard. Time is running out, and all hope will soon be lost. Their content could hold the key to fight against the darkness. No matter how many podcasts the people have listened to, they haven't heard us. Not us united.
Dollar bills, y'all.
$2 of wisdom. Holla.
I got some cruise.
Holla in
bucks.
Valhalla. Zavalhalla.
Zavalhalla.
I'll see you in the halls of Zavalhalla.
Zavalhalla. For Zavalhalla.
Dude. Maybe that should have been our podcast name.
Zavalhalla.
Cruising
down the halls of Zavalhalla. Oh, we're changing the name. Anyways, welcome to the first episode of Cruising Down the Halls of Zavala.
Halls of Zavala.
Man.
Where they play the immigrant song. And we're demonetized. If we weren't already.
No, we didn't actually put it in. We just
That's true. We just sang it.
That
could be any immigrant song.
It was an imitation.
Yeah, it could be any. Yeah. We don't even know who sang it besides us.
Yeah,
So
we just wrote that song right now.
Dodged a bullet there.
All right.
We didn't have to sign any NDAs or other legal documents.
Yeah, other lawyer terms.
Thank God. Anyway,
Nick, I would like to propose. Nick,
my man, my dude.
Oh,
hey.
You didn't turn that down, baby.
We got a notification.
Hey.
And everyone else knows now.
Yes.
Anyway, you were saying Nick?
Zavala.
What can I help you with?
I'm so confused. I would like to propose. This week we saw the movie Shang Chi, the newest
Shang-Chi.
Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Shang Chi.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to propose a name change to Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Legend of the Ten Rings?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to propose a name change to it.
To the movie. Okay. Bold pick.
And this is not a spoiler or anything.
Okay.
I would like to.
I'm scared.
You're like this.
What's happening?
This is gonna depend on how many people continue listening to this podcast.
Oh wow. Okay. The setup.
Yeah. I would like to propose the name. I can't. So sorry. I would like the name to be, instead of Shang-Chi,
Yeah.
Shang-Chi.
There it is. Yeah, everyone just quit. Everyone, look how big that sound bar is on our monitor right now. Woof.
Wolfing that down.
There you
go. And the Masters of the Ten.
Dang. All right. I'm here for it. I'll allow this. Yeah. I think all the actors and people involved with the movie would agree.
Thank you. I was told to not tell that joke, and I'm still telling that joke.
Really?
Yeah.
Who told you not to tell you?
My significant other.
Oh, well, that makes sense. That was probably a wise move on her part to be like,
She's like,
maybe
do
don't be an idiot.
Yeah, but hey, here we are.
But
I'm an idiot.
podcast, we're idiots. So, classic. So does that mean you enjoyed
Yes.
Shang-Chi?
Yes, because it was she-worthy.
It was she-worthy.
She-worthy.
Oh, let's go. We both like the movie. We don't have to fight each other tonight.
Amen.
Respect. Maybe
Amen.
we're going to fight each other on how much we liked it.
Yeah. Oh, it was bleh.
We're going to be like, it was way better than you. Okay.
I thought it was brilliant. You thought it was only really good.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, we're talking about Marvel's next installment.
Mm-hmm.
They have had one previous. We talked about Black Widow earlier in one of our older episodes.
Mm-hmm. Which you very much enjoyed and still hold that.
I did, and it hasn't aged as well since seeing some of the shows. Because Loki was kind of around that time, and then What If and stuff like that. And then also, Shang-Chi was really good, dude.
Good, dude.
I was like, dang.
It was like...
It was like... yeah, it was. And yeah, it's tough because I was trying to talk to Kate about this a little bit because she was like, really, Black Widow top 10? What are you cutting?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because for me, number 10 is Iron Man 1. And it's so hard to cut that.
Yeah.
And I'm not one who lays down on a wire, I usually would just cut the wire, for Iron Man. And
Did you?
I don't think Black Widow. Oh man, I think Black Widow's right around there. I still like it a lot, but with Shang-Chi, no questions asked. It's in top 10.
Amen.
Easily,
like easy top 10. Like this is such like a. See, for Black Widow, it's not even in a conversation to be in. Like, it's so middle of the road for me. Like it was fine, and I liked it.
It's more memorable of a solo outing than most, I would say.
I wouldn't even
because
say
some
that.
of the supporting cast I thought was better than like.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, because it's
I feel
not
like
an
she almost
origin
got
story.
Outshined on her own movie.
She was, but is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
Why is that a negative? If your
It's
supporting
her
cast is
movie.
dope,
It's her movie.
I understand, but like
we've been waiting for this for so long.
I'm trying to think if there's like a better, like an example of like.
I know what you're saying, where it's like, oh, if everyone was great, then what's the problem?
Right, but like, let's say we were watching The Winter Soldier and Cap wasn't the best character of that movie. Is that necessarily a negative? Because
No, I just think,
you know what I mean?
No, I'm not even saying that the supporting cast is what I didn't like about the movie, or like her being the main character wasn't what I didn't
I guess
like.
its purpose was that
I
it
just
was
think
a send off.
The general idea of the movie was fine, and the like. I just
villain's not very memorable.
Yeah, and it's pretty by the numbers. Like
it is.
We're going where we're going. This felt like Shang-Chi.
It was a breath of fresh air.
Such a breath of fresh air. It was shot beautifully.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know like if it was gonna be like, everyone knows how to do a little like fighting, but this felt like
this was the best choreographed movie by far, 100%.
Best choreographed Marvel movie, hands down.
Yeah,
and
I
just
would 100%
going
agree
into
with
the
that.
mythos of it.
Yep.
And just like this movie honestly blew me away. Like
yeah, the way I have been describing it to friends is the best parts, everything you liked about Black Panther and everything you liked about Doctor Strange, and no negatives put into a movie.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like, because it is technically an origin story, but like it doesn't feel like it's dragged down by that. It doesn't feel like it feels different. Like one of the things I didn't like about like, oh, Doctor Strange and Ant-Man and like Captain Marvel, it's like it was just like, and some of those are better than the other ones, but it just felt like the formula, and it just felt like person, hard thing happens, they get better, and now hero. This felt like, I think the family dynamic of this movie and the characters built around it and the motivations by everyone was so strong. Yeah. And the action and the choreography of it all just supported everything. Like I was expecting good, and this was great.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Marvel, man, you can't say that they're perfect at the formula, because obviously Black Widow came out recently and it's not like perfect in everybody's eyes. Yeah. But I would be hard pressed to find somebody that really disliked this movie. Like I'd really have to understand why, because this is when the formula just hits on all cylinders. Yeah. It has a little setup for what's coming next. This is going to have it didn't have like huge ramifications yet. Right. But that's okay, because it's a origin story. But it's also not just a one-off and be like, well, that was cool. They at least did this cool like side story that we, no one like, I didn't really know much about Shang-Chi until this movie, and then I did some research and was like, oh, okay, this sounds like the cooler Iron Fist. And it was, but Iron Fist also set a pretty low bar. The show was hot garbage, and I haven't really read too much of the comic books, but that character seemed pretty cool. But Shang-Chi was just like, oh, never mind, this is dope. Yeah. It tackled all those things, and I think they have figured out a way to be like, it trusts its audience to not have to spoon feed everything, but not skip things that make the plot suffer. It just gives you enough to be like, okay, got it, I'm caught up, all right, let's go, let's be on for the ride.
And maybe that's why, not to keep comparing it to Black Widow, but it's just, I feel like it's natural to do it, But like Black Widow felt like it was all set up, even though it was a swan song for Scarlett Johansson. It didn't,
and it's
feel
not
like a
clear
swan song.
how everything's going to come back, except for Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
There's clearly a tie-in with her at the end of that movie, but
this feels like it is its own movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is its singular vision, and then it's like, oh, but also this.
Yeah,
like this setup. It's done. The setup isn't the crutch of the movie.
Correct.
Like it's not setting up to anything that's.
It just did something dope. It's back to basics.
Yeah,
where it does a great movie,
but
with then
good,
a nice Easter egg at the end.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't even know if it's like basic. It just feels like it's a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Like it's like exactly what this new phase needed. It's exactly like, I think the cast is wonderful. I think like it's just so good, dude. Like, I don't want to move into like without spoiling, but like,
no, I get you. No, I 100% agree. And the thing I was going to say was, yes, it does have a tie-in at the end, but it doesn't feel like there is definitely still some mystery to what's going on, but I don't feel like it was the classic like Marvel of like, we're not even going to have a conclusion because we want there to be so much mystery. Right. There was still a nice conclusion. And what's next? Yeah. Like, to me, that's why I said it feels kind of back to basics, where it's like, you have the Captain America, great movie, completely done, and then the end goes, here's a trailer for Avengers, and you're like, okay, well, the movie was over, he landed, we know what happened, but now we get this taste of, and guess what's about to happen next?
Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where it felt like this is back to where they're keeping a little bit off of, they're not showing all their cards, but they're at least giving us enough that it's a satisfying movie. There are some that I feel like in the past have been like, this is here, but it's more just to like kind of fill in a slot so that we can make X number of dollars until we actually want to tell you what is happening.
Yeah, this felt like this movie needed to be made in a way. Like it felt like this was just the right next step. Some movies are like movies to just set up the next Avengers movie or whatever. This felt like, oh no, this is just like a character. It's real. It just felt like very natural step.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of what I can say without being spoilery. I think too, they figured out a way to organically fit some of these new characters into becoming like quote unquote Avengers without the clear like recruitment. And so like Shang Chi just had like a great story, and it happened to meddle alongside some threads that kind of help tie him into a greater picture of what's going to happen in the superhero universe without it being, where's Nick Fury? Where's Tony Stark? Or where's like
Doctor Strange here doing something?
Why are there not like, why are you all of a sudden just recruiting talent? You know, like that tended to be the way they did it, was there was always that guy who's like, I'm going to be the one that connects you to the Avengers. You're not just going to naturally flow into it.
And I think it was because this person was so personal. The story was so like, it wasn't like, oh, well, obviously X person should be here because this is a blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it felt like, no, this is like something that he can only handle in a way. So it was like, it wasn't like, I don't know, man, I think we just need to move into spoilers.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
It's always funny because like you said before, this was I don't know what you're gonna think of this movie, like me saying this to me, and I don't know, I like to keep you in suspense.
You did, yeah, because because I like something doesn't necessarily mean you will automatically like it, but we do seem to like intersect a lot on like the things that we like, and so it does surprise me sometimes when you're like, oh, I wasn't driving with that, and I'm like
Reminiscence
really?
was I think was shocking too.
Well, a little bit, yeah. I mean, I understand it wasn't the most perfect thing, but there are definitely quirks that you and I both have that like we would maybe lean towards that actually make us a little different. Even though I would say overall, 80% of what we like probably is the same. You know, but that 20% keeps it interesting.
Yeah, spicy.
Because it's like, You're really good at like not telling me your thoughts until the podcast, and so I have like no idea going in. So I just get like super anxious. I'm just like, gosh, am I gonna have to like defend Shang-Chi? Am I gonna be able to like celebrate it?
I
like,
just want to keep you on your toes, man, because I like that. I like it to be more natural and more like, just more like, oh, it's not planned out. It's like, hey, this is what I thought, and we were talked about like, oh, we talked about XYZ. Like, this is our first time talking about the movie.
It's true.
Like you saw it before me, and you said, hey, I saw it, and I'm like, cool. Don't say anything else about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm also just like, I also need to be okay with like, I thought it was dope, and I don't give a shit about what you think.
And
like,
I thought it was hot garbage.
Like, I need to get better at that because sometimes I'm
Anyways.
like, just wanting to be
Anyway,
like.
here's the twist. I thought Shang-Chi was really bad.
Yeah, I just tricked you all, baby.
Oh, let's go.
The mid-credit scene is, it sucked. No, okay, so spoilers. We're jumping in. We're going to start talking about it.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say, like, to recommend for those listening is, like, it truly is, like, the best parts of, like, some of the other films. Like, Black Panther created its own world that existed secret from the entire MCU. And in a lot of ways, Shang-Chi is the same way.
Yeah.
There's, like, this area, this sect of Earth that we just don't know about.
Which
and
almost you have to do.
It's an important part, which it makes sense like why it wasn't discovered so long ago. And they did a really good job of like making a labyrinth that makes it like even more secret and stuff like that. But there's this level of like magic. Like, I don't know what your opinion was of the 10 rings. I could see some people being upset that it wasn't like, this ring gives me power of this.
Isn't that what it is in the comics?
The Mandarin technically would have like 10 rings on his
power.
fingers, and they would give him like power over whatever. Whereas these were more just like arm bracelets that just like beat the shit out of people.
Yeah.
But there was clearly something that happened at the end of Shang-Chi where maybe they weren't being used to their full potential.
Yeah.
And they clearly like looked different when they were used by him versus his father. So who's to say that
they can't
do similar things?
And they're
to the
obviously
rings?
like very unknown.
Correct.
Like even like Wong's
Cool
cameo. It's freaking awesome. Like to be like,
dude,
oh,
what a
cool.
boss.
Yeah.
Like he's like doing, classic like wizard stuff, but then he just comes in, like takes a big drink of alcohol and is like, we need you for like some stuff. And you're just
Wong
like, this
is
guy,
like
Wong.
low key a great character.
Yeah, Wong, he's that like in some ways is like kind of Nick Fury in this movie.
Maybe,
but like not in an obnoxious like, hey, I need to recruit you. It's just like, yo,
what
you're
do you
doing
do?
some crazy shit.
Yeah.
I need to know what's up
Yeah.
because, which ties into his whole mission is now that there's one of the sanctums has been destroyed, like they're on super alert to be like, we have to protect from all mystical things, and you have these 10 rings that just beat up this dope ass dragon. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So there's lots going on in Shang-Chi, but
I think the design of the 10 rings was really cool.
I've actually enjoyed it.
I like just like the physicality of it, being on the wrist and then shooting them around, and then like the fight with him and his dad. Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, it was like it's like one part Dragon Ball Z and one part like kind of like the Doctor Strange type stuff. Like there's this cool like physical element to it versus just like magic. And so I agree. I enjoyed the design of them. It's like in some ways the when Henry Cavill is reloading his arms in Mission Impossible, that's kind of like what these rings were like. It was like reloading and stuff, and I was like, oh, this would have made a lot more sense if he had the 10 rings. That's what I thought of.
Yeah, I think what I liked about him was like it didn't feel like they were mystical, but it also was like it felt like they were practical, and it felt like, it made sense what was happening, and like you're shooting your arms, and maybe like, the dad isn't using them to their full potential because he's using them for these nefarious deeds, but then like I guess the purity of Shang-Chi comes out, and that's why it becomes different colors. And
or
like,
why they're used to begin with. Like to me, it kind of felt like the Elder Wand in Harry Potter. It was like you get this like really powerful artifact. Yes, you are powerful yourself, but what you're using it for and the way you're using it and the fact that you never really earned it, but you just happened to stumble upon it. Yeah, you get to have some benefits of it being like a dope-ass artifact for you, but when you're truly wielding them the way they're meant to be wielded, then it becomes like the most powerful thing. So like these things have been on Earth for centuries, and nothing happens. Shang Chi uses them once, and now all of a sudden there's this
that's a good point
beacon that's like calling in somebody, which I would love to jump in at some point to get your theory of what that means. But anyway,
what do you mean? Like,
well, that mid-credit scene is like, now that you've used them, it was felt across the world.
So like, is someone gonna get
there's
called?
A beacon.
Yeah.
And so what's your theory of who's the beacon calling to? What were those 10 rings? I have a theory.
Your theory is gonna be far better than mine. I didn't know like it was calling to someone. It was like, what's the next big bag? Like Kang, Mephisto. Those are names being thrown around.
Yeah.
What's the Shang-Chi villain?
Well, I don't know if this will be a Shang-Chi villain, but my thought is these artifacts aren't on their codex, so they might not be
Craven
from
or something.
What?
Craven or something? He's like a time traveler. Maybe it's something like him because he's ancient.
I thought it might be Galactus.
Ooh. Okay.
Like, when the world is finally capable of wielding this, it means there's enough power to be like
to get eaten.
So like they're almost sent as like a beacon to be like, let me know when somebody finally is powerful enough to do this, because maybe they'll get to be like my herald and they'll get to survive, but no one else will.
That makes sense. Yeah, and there's always the talks of Galactus coming in, especially with Fantastic Four.
Let's go, baby.
Oh my goodness.
Galactus would be effing nuts, dude.
As long as it's not like a cloud of...
It's not going to be a diarrhea cloud, don't worry. Don't worry. We learned from Green Lantern and Fantastic Four movies that diarrhea clouds don't work.
Yeah. It took 2 movies.
No, I hope they just full on do just a big ass dude in a purple suit.
Dude, you got to at this
like,
point.
who cares?
Dude, you have like the Watcher. And I know that's not mainstream Marvel really, but like, yeah.
It's fine. It'll happen.
You can do, okay, now we're in spoilers. You can do freaking dragons in Marvel movies now, and I'm so excited.
Yeah. No, that's the one thing I will give Shang-Chi credit for too is this felt like a very like, it's kind of reminded me of like Thor: The Dark World, where like the threat was so large, it's like, where are the Avengers? Like, you had the 9 realms converging in London and like no one else is getting called, like S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't even there, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? They did such a good job of like
having it removed. Yeah,
it's in a secret place. It hasn't been opened in forever, and in 2 minutes it's going to be, and we don't have time.
Yeah, we don't have time to call anyone.
We don't have time. You don't even know who you'd call because you're not an Avenger.
Yeah.
Like, they did such a great job of just being like...
I never thought for a moment, oh, why isn't X here?
Correct.
Why isn't Doctor Strange here?
They did such a good job of just, like, isolating this event, but yet still making it feel so grand that, like... They did such a great job. Like, there was that henchman of the Mandarin that was, like, incredibly potent.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, not him. The guy that had the mask. They did such a great job of saying, like, this guy is physically like a threat, and then he gets soul sucked in like 2 seconds, and you're just like,
to get his soul sucked.
Oh my gosh! Like, they killed the hardest boss, in the whole movie in seconds.
Yeah, and like, it was great. Also reminded me of Mortal Kombat.
A little bit. Finish him.
He's about to get his soul sucked.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that line. How could I? That song or that movie is insane.
But like, there isn't a clear. Obviously there is, but there isn't a villain in this movie. I would like to say there isn't a like the motivations of the dad are so good.
Yeah,
and
the
make
classic,
so much sense.
Yeah, corrupted by the
real villain. Like, I was like. And it was just like the dynamic between like, I'm just trying to get my wife back, and like your mother, 100%. And it's just like, it wasn't like I'm going to destroy the world because Dormammu and blah.
Yeah,
it was like it felt
and
like
I'm Dracula for some reason.
Blah blah blah. Yeah, the Dracula.
Yeah, got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love your accents. Continue. Let's leave it at that though. Let's not go anywhere else, because I know it could. Anyway,
like, I really enjoyed the villain of this movie. I really enjoyed the dad. I was like, you make sense. your motivations.
He was redeemed at some point.
Yeah. Oh, the fight with the dad. Oh, so good. And like that's the heart of this movie. Of the family element is really what sets it apart for me. Obviously, there's a dragon, and then there's a point where Awkwafina pops off and saves the world.
Hell yeah,
and I'm
dude.
like, my girl, let's go.
Yeah, the fact that she's gonna be just kind of like an honorary Avenger because she was like good with a bow for 5 minutes just makes my heart go, yes, anyone can do this. Yeah. Like her and Hawkeye just need to be like hanging out.
I just like having her in an action role. Like, that's crazy.
And
who would have thought?
To avoid the classic like we're friends, but now we should make out because we saved the world. They just avoided it.
Yeah,
it's like what if they're just friends and they're gonna be Avengers together, and who cares? Yeah, like it doesn't have to ultimately lead to them, like getting together. Yeah, yay!
I love that.
Yeah,
I loved it, dude. I don't even know really what to say, but I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah, no, that like I was thinking about it. I was like, is this gonna be super short because it was so good, or is this gonna be super long podcast because it's so good?
Yeah, it might be really short because like
it. Yeah,
I like. Okay, so maybe let's start at the beginning. I think the whole like narration was like beginning was like okay, and it felt like it was definitely like very like Chinese inspired, very like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of thing, very like House of Flying Daggers kind of like feel to it, which was really cool, and like obviously what they were going for. Yeah. I just like the face that the dad made when the wife was like beating him up. And like like when she was like
he's getting his ass beat, he's like,
and he was
I'm
like,
so hot for you right now.
I'm really turned on. You're
kicking my ass. Let's do this.
Please keep going.
Yes, exactly.
And like his face was just great. So it was okay. And then like I liked the beginning with Awkwafina and Shang-Chi was okay. Like them in the car was like kind of cheesy, but like I don't know, like seeing a few Chinese movies, they're kind of cheesy like that. And so like I think it like embraced that, and I think it was good. And then that bus scene.
Yep, that's when it all just was like
amazing.
It was insane.
A dude with machete. And you got to see Awkwafina there a little bit too, where it's like a lot of the times it'd be like, oh, here's just Shang-Chi doing the entire thing, and Awkwafina just shows up and is like, well, you just did this thing. Like, here's the comedic relief, but it's like, hey, here, you get to drive the bus, you get to do this, you could kind of like push people around. It's like it gave her something to do and like made it feel like she was a character. Correct. And I think that's like super important to be like.
It was crazy how much personality they had for what little time we actually did spend developing that. Yeah, I think that's where that first scene is crucial. Of like we're just best friends. We're gonna make kind of the poor decision of like
stealing this car.
Let's go get karaoke and like just get drunk tonight, because once you finally know that his life was just like he's living in this pain of like his past, and when it all finally starts to click, you're just like, yeah, that's probably what I would do too. Yeah, like this is the only thing to really is to just be the exact opposite of what I was. Yeah, which is just kind of like
a fun
coasting, and like just doing chill stuff. Yeah, and it's perfect.
All the questions that came up during this movie, the main one being like, oh, if the dad is this super organized crime boss, why didn't he find him in 10 years? And the dad just like, I was just letting you do your thing. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, that makes sense. And like all the questions were like contained in the movie were answered in the movie.
Yeah, it was very clean.
It was like, there wasn't like, what about if this happened?
Oh, exactly. Like, there was no like nerdy, like, here's the plot hole.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but like during it, I was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah. I think the only thing you can get upset about with this movie is they deliberately, on purpose, made the origin of the 10 rings ambiguous so that we'll find out later.
I don't even think that was super important to the movie. Like,
correct, but it's going to be eventually. Yeah. It's going to make sense why how did the Mandarin get them? Because it was like, they said at the first, like, he may have taken them off a dead body in a tomb. Yeah. He may have just been gifted them. We don't really know the origin. And it's like, I think by knowing that, we'd actually know something, because this beacon at the end is going to make sense. Important. The only thing I can see anyone being pissed off is that they kind of withheld that, and that was Marvel's way of being like, haha, Shang-Chi 2, baby. Or like...
Which just makes sense.
But yeah, it's like, you understand this is phase 4. It's not like the final phase. Yeah. Like, they're gonna hold their punches a little, because they're setting stuff up. We knew that this was going to happen. So if you're going to be upset because they withheld so that they can make more movies, then I don't know what you were expecting, because that's literally what we grew up on. Yeah. That's literally phases 1 through 3. Yeah, so it's seriously fine. I mean, every single movie was, we're going to withhold that for a second. Like, the Tesseract's going to jump all over the place, and you'll figure out where it ends up at the end.
Hey, it's here.
Yeah. Yeah. So get over it.
I think what my biggest flaws usually with big superhero movies, big Marvel movies, big DC movies is the end fight scenes. And like, it's just a CGI mess. And I did not feel that for this movie.
This was a CGI beautiful fest.
This was a freaking man jumping on a dragon, and the dragon fighting another dragon,
sucking its soul out,
and then Awkwafina shoots a bow, and then like this guy does these 10 rings, and he freaking like makes a circle on this other evil dragon and just freaking kills it, and like just like oh my god, this movie's amazing.
Yes, it was the perfect amount of everything. It was like equal parts cheesy, like over the top, completely grounded.
Somehow,
like the magic all made sense. Yeah. The dragon stuff, the dragon scale stuff, like all the armor that they use.
He goes into the water, and the dragon shows up, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense.
Totally fine. Yeah, we knew.
Yeah,
we knew.
It's amazing.
But there's like a worse dragon, one that sucks souls. And they're like, if he sucks the soul of the dragon, he's gonna be unstoppable. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, normally a line like that would be like, ugh.
Ugh, classic
like,
dragon.
Worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. So I thought, I for the first time saw the Eternal trailers during in front of this movie. Looks dope AF.
Dope AF for sure. AF dope.
Yeah, no cap.
Yeah, no cap. For real, straight bussin'.
All right, I'm sorry I opened up this can of worms with shoo.
Exactly.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that movie, but now I'm like, oh, okay, this looks
super
great.
old. We'll see what happens. Maybe they created the 10 rings.
Like, I thought the whatever the villain of the Eternals, like these
the
ancient
celestial stuff.
Yeah, the celestial ancient evil things. I thought Shang Chi was going to end on a cliffhanger
that would tie into
Eternals. And I'm very glad it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, oh, this ancient evil, and then like it's released, and then Shang-Chi, and I'm very glad they didn't go that
Yeah,
route.
I think Eternals is going to take place over so long of a period that like I think from my understanding, the movie will be like, here was 1000 AD.
Yeah.
And here was like 1950, and here was like whatever, like, because they've been here for forever. So sense. I don't know if it would perfectly tie in, you know. And I think what we're getting right now is a couple standalones that will set the building blocks, so that way there will be another Avengers that will finally kind of like tie it all together. But I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of like interaction.
How do we get to
Spider-Man
Avengers 1 for this team? Like, how do we create a big enough threat that isn't the big threat?
I think you got to let Spider-Man and Doctor Strange do whatever the multiverse thing's going to be, and then we'll know.
Yeah.
Because my guess, I need to know when so we're going to get into a little bit of spoilers for some Loki stuff too.
Sure.
Because I think we need to, because that's clearly the future of MCU. So spoilers for if you haven't seen the Loki TV show on Disney+. Here's what happened. In the finale, Loki tries to slow down what's happening, but basically we run into not Kang the Conqueror, but a version of Kang that could... He's like the one who knows all, or the one who remains, or whatever he's called, but a version of him is Kang the Conqueror. And right now there's one singular timeline. They've kept it in a loop. There's no multiverse. They kill him, not by Loki's choice, but by a different Loki's choice. Mm-hmm. Now there's going to be multiverse. Is that the same time that Spider-Man takes place, and that's what causes the Doctor Strange explosion that causes multiverse? Right. Is that what the Beacon's calling for? Like, it's not an entity that exists in our universe, but will now because there's a multiverse. Who's to know? Yeah. Eternals aren't getting involved until now. Why? Because maybe there's a multiverse problem, and they're like, oh, this is something we've never dealt with. We can intervene now.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's not clear what the Avengers 5 will be, but it's going to have to do something with the multiverse, I think.
Yeah, I just think like it's hard to create a big enough threat to get these people together that isn't a big enough threat to be like blowing their load and being like, this is everything so quickly.
Yeah, so I think the one thing that's nice about the multiverse is it will affect everyone, and it could be small scale, but so many different versions of a small scale that it becomes large. So like the multiverse could be like, hey, Shang-Chi, you helped take down your dragon.
But there's another dragon.
Now there's 18 dragons.
Cool.
And you're just like, what? Eternals are like, hey, you protected your world, but now there's thousands of worlds.
No, it creates, and that's the beauty of it now. It's like, it creates endless possibilities.
Yeah.
And it's weird to have like this grounded, here's a real world in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Real world in quotes. But like, to be grounded in it for it to work. But it also is, I think the mystical element really just kicks it into gear and just makes sense and just works. And
I'm excited that they're using like the Doctor Strange universe to push it forward too, because it seemed like
magic.
they were also going to do a lot of Black Panther stuff, but it also feels like this mystical version is also going to be a component. So it feels like they're leading with a lot of their strengths.
Yeah, it seems like the two pillars are now Doctor Strange.
You have the technology and the magic.
Yeah.
And there's going to be two sides to it. Agreed.
Great.
I think they're taking interesting paths where they're letting some of the storytelling, which primarily in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, ironically, was only Captain America. And then like a couple other movies.
It was weird that Captain America took the load of like, Civil War was an Avengers movie.
Correct.
Yeah.
Iron Man was like, here's me.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 was, here's me again. Iron Man 3's, here's me again. Also,
Very
I'm not Iron Man.
Yeah.
Thor was like, I'm here. Thor 2's like, I get to do another adventure. Thor 3 was like, all right, now I finally am going to give to the plot of the MCU. What else came out in the first phase? So you then you have Captain America, which was basically like, here's the Tesseract, which will now be in Avengers. Now that Avengers is done,
here's Civil War, which sets up
Civil War. So it just keeps going and going. And I mean, Winter Soldier also set up why Shield's not in most of these movies. Endgame. The reason why there's a portal that doesn't open with a bunch of Shield agents is because they're pretty much all Hydra and Shield sucks. Like,
I mean, if you want to say the most important movies are Captain America movies,
easily,
and
that's why it always cracked me up when like I would go to like Captain America Civil War, and there were so many pro Iron Man teams. I'm just like,
what are you talking about?
Cap has not only did all the heavy lifting of storytelling. Granted, Iron Man was the pioneer. Don't get me wrong. Fair. He had to get the boat afloat. I get it. But Cap's been pushing it along. And then you have the audacity to like pick Iron Man just because he's cooler. And Cap's like stubborn. And it's like, dude.
No.
Come on.
Anyway.
So
I think Shang-Chi got me excited for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Black Widow did not. And like
agreed.
And like I just was, it was nice to come out of a Marvel movie and be like, wow, I can't wait to see what's next.
I am genuinely excited. Like I think I've told you this, I've told many people this. I have no expectation for what happens next with Marvel. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I do not give a shit. Like I'm like, I watched Endgame. I am satisfied.
Yeah, same.
Everything from this point on probably will disappoint me, or that's what I thought. I was like, so I don't need to go in with this like mind of like, you need to be better than Endgame.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting anything to. And Marvel's still swinging, man. Marvel has some ideas.
I think Loki was like just so, they're just taking swings still. And it's not like they could be so safe. And even WandaVision was pretty good, where it's like they were like, hey, here's this crazy idea. I think the most safe was Winter Soldier and Falcon. But like, it just feels like they're not stopping. And like they're still going. And I think Shang-Chi. Sorry. I've been calling it Shang-Chi forever.
Because his name's Sean, right?
Yeah, Sean. Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi. Sean.
Wait, you were trying to hide from your father and your name was Sean? Instead of Shang?
Oh, my girl, Kafina.
That was amazing.
But like, oh man, I don't know what else. But like, Shang-Chi was just like, just enough of world building for the outside Marvel universe to just get me to be like, yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't on board with Black Widow. I was like, okay, you know, another Marvel movie, whatever. This was like, yeah, whatever you want to do, icing on the cake.
Yeah.
We're already 20 plus movies deep into this.
Right.
Just give me Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and I'm done.
Dude. Oh man, if they do that.
Yeah.
Can I? Are you okay if I shit on DC for just a second?
Fine.
Okay. You have to give credit to Marvel that like we're caring about characters that like
aren't huge,
had like some popularity in the 70s.
I know.
And then maybe
I'm so sad.
But like, and I don't need to crap on like DC to be justified, but I'm just like, Marvel has taken characters that nobody should care about, and I'm not saying Shang-Chi is one of them, but I'm saying like Guardians of the Galaxy,
Thor, Captain America.
Yeah, there's some
Iron Man. Yeah,
there's some that like, if you think that Iron Man was like a really popular character before these movies, he was like pretty good, but he was very much a B-class hero. Spider-Man is by far and away the most popular, and Disney doesn't even own them.
Yeah, Spider-Man, like, X-Men, yeah.
Yeah. Like, they have changed the popularity of characters to the point where we're going to know more about the Black Knight or, like, characters in these Eternals.
Freaking Taskmaster.
You're going to be, like, yeah, you're going to love some characters that, like, you wouldn't have even known about in the comic books. You wouldn't even know it exists. Like, the average viewer of these films isn't going to know anything about these people. I don't even know anything about these. I have to look it up after I see the trailer. I'm like, that dude's dope. Who's he? Or have they been casted?
They're just going
like, I don't know.
Deep.
They're so and they're making you like care about these people.
I know where you're going. And how do they do this?
I'm just saying that like there's DC's like, here's our all-star lineup of all time.
And it takes a 4-hour
and we're gonna shit the bed for like half of them.
Yeah.
You know? You've done really good with Wonder Woman.
Half of the time.
I don't mind Superman. And I hate Superman. Batman was dope. But like,
written wrong.
Flash hasn't been really done well yet so far. We'll see. Aquaman, love who you casted.
My man.
My man. Jason Momoa, dope. Still a great movie, but just like, they're working with the cream of the crop and still
Aquaman
struggling.
Versus Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And I love Shang-Chi so much more than freaking Aquaman, which is personally one of my favorite comic characters.
Right. It blows my mind. And Marvel's like middle of the pack movies are their Spider-Man movies. And that's their most popular character of all time. And they don't even own that character. They have to work with like another company to make those films. Look, so I'm just saying.
No, your point is extremely valid. How do you have the two most popular comic book characters of all time in Batman and Superman? And it's like one of the most controversial movies of all time.
Correct.
Like, that is a home run.
It should always work.
It should always be a home run.
It should always work.
And you have Guardians of the Galaxy. You have Thor. You have like all these characters like who knows? Like like everyone knew Batman and Superman. Yep. And it took a 4-hour cut of Justice League to make it be like,
enough.
Palatable.
Yep.
And I'm a DC fan. Like
right.
And I'm like, I will like put my life on. I love DC and I love Batman and Superman.
They're great characters.
Flash and like Wonder Woman. I think I just have this personal. I always like DC, but their movies, I like fight to even enjoy them myself.
Yep.
And I know like they're just much less palatable than like freaking this movie, and it goes crazy and like there's a freaking dragon in this movie. There's 2 dragons in this movie.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
And like Aquaman goes as crazy as it wants. There's an octopus playing drums and there's crab people and it just like doesn't make sense. And like, but I don't know, man.
I mean, I understand that they're 2 different types of comic books. I understand that DC tends to be more of the godly, epic, whatever. Don't get me wrong. I understand that Marvel's more of your comedic, lighthearted, more relatable characters. But Marvel has capitalized on something and they've figured out how to like trigger this in their audience to be like, I care about this character that I knew nothing about this year.
Yeah.
Prior to this year, sorry, I should say.
Yeah.
And I just think that I don't need to do any more work for them. They're already doing it themselves, and I think Shang Chi is going to be popular regardless of what I say. But like, there needs to be a level of respect for like how much they are able to interject the popularity of a character that like nobody gave a shit about a week prior to that movie coming out.
Do you think that, as a defense, do you think that because it is unpopular or unknown, it's far easier to say this is the character? Whereas Batman is like, there's multiple iterations. Everyone knows what Batman should be.
Sure.
Superman. It's like, everyone's like, well, that's not Batman. Or like, well, like Ben.
There's more of an opinion because they've already been so done.
Because there's so many, yeah.
I think that's fair. No, I think that's totally fair. But I don't think the amount of times that Batman has been done has hindered people from enjoying Batman.
Right.
I don't think that Superman, the amount of time, like I don't think people are like, Henry Cavill's pretty good, but he's no Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's constantly being compared to his predecessors. I do think the criticisms of the DCEU currently are valid because...
And I would agree.
They tried to do basically Iron Man 1 and then Civil War.
In the same movie.
Within 2 movies. Like, I mean, it was basically like, here's an introduction, and now we're going to do Captain America versus Iron Man.
Yeah.
In movie 2, before even having Avengers.
Yeah.
And they were trying to just get into the competition instead of laying the groundwork. You like Marvel, what they did was like, I don't go back and revisit Thor all that often, but they did their time. They took their time and actually giving you a chance to like enjoy these characters, so that when they finally did assemble, you're like, I know where you're from. Because I watched your movie, I know where all this is. Instead of trying to force feed you into...
Yeah.
And I think that's where DC's fault was.
Oh, 100%. They, like, jumped the gun too quickly. It was like...
Yeah.
Here's this, and this. Because they were like, we have to play catch-up to Marvel. And now I think they're not doing that.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next 5 years of DCEU.
Yeah, because they're kind of just like, dude, we're just going to make movies.
Exactly.
And that's what they should have been doing this entire time.
Right. And it sounds like TV-wise, they're killing it.
Yeah.
Like, which, don't get me wrong, TV nowadays is the way to tell some of these stories and actually give time to the characters.
Prior to Disney Plus Marvel, even like Netflix Marvel, like DC wasn't killing it.
It wasn't even clear that the Marvel Netflix was really going to tie in all that much.
Yeah.
So like they were DC great, but it was with an asterisk of like, will Daredevil actually show up again?
Yeah.
Will Luke Cage actually show up again? We don't know. Whereas DC can kind of play that. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to just say like,
no, you're right.
I only use that
you're right.
I don't need to crap on them anymore because they are making good stuff like Suicide Squad, like we've already talked about. Excellent film. It didn't have to tie into where's Superman while this is going on. I don't give a shit. Like let's just have fun.
Yeah.
That's all people are wanting. Marvel is going to tell the chapter story.
Yes.
And if DC can either figure out a way to tell a chapter story, great, or just don't worry about it and let Marvel do their thing. You don't have to mirror them.
Yeah.
Just do your thing. Like, know your lane and kill it. And it sounds like right now people want to know more about your characters, so don't just go right into team-ups, multiple people in the same movie. Give us some solo good movies. Aquaman was like one of those. Wonder Woman was one of those. Unfortunately, now they're trying to... I mean, Wonder Woman 84, it sounds like, was pretty rough. But
straight out garbage.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, like, give us some time.
Yeah, and...
Because when those team-up movies do finally take place, we'll be excited. But give us a chance to, like, breathe and understand your characters.
Yeah.
Don't give us Iron Man, Civil War, and then Avengers. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't... Like, it doesn't add up at all.
Yeah, 3 movies, there was Justice League.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane.
Or, like... Did Wonder Woman came out before Justice League? But like,
her whole timeline doesn't make sense though, because
No.
like she's like Captain America without the frozen time,
Mm-hmm.
and so she keeps getting like super powerful and then doesn't get those
Powers
in
I
the
just don't think,
future
like,
and all that stuff. It's weird.
they're not meant to be like DC should all be like Shazam should be separate. There should all be separate universes, basically. Like
They should almost do a multiverse movie series where it's like, in this version we're gonna say the Nightmare stuff happened and Superman's bad, and then it might not even continue. Next one is going to be a different Batman, because now we're gonna get another Batman, but Ben Affleck Batman's coming back.
Dope.
But like supposedly Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck's Batmans are coming back with Flash.
Mm-hmm.
But Rob Pattinson's Batman seems really promising from what I'm hearing and stuff.
Looks
so it's
great.
like, just lean in,
make movies,
just lean in, just do stuff. It's fine. So don't try to compete with the people who like are currently writing the
thunder,
book.
like the lightning in a bottle, the thunder in the bottle. Like, and like everyone was trying to copy them. Like there was the whole dark universe with Tom Cruise as the Mummy.
Oh boy, I wanted that to take off so bad, dude. Oh boy, I was super excited for that.
Every other.
Yeah, they all tried because they're like,
everyone's trying, but like Marvel just they
got 10 years ahead of everyone.
Yeah,
no one was trying to do what they were doing.
1 in a million chance to do it.
Yep.
Just don't try and copy it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you look at just like what they did and what they were able to get away with, it was it was thin ice until Avengers, easily. I mean, the documentaries that are going to come out 30 years from now when they like go back and talk about this, I mean, it's going to be like, we had no idea it was going to be this until Avengers came out. And then when Avengers came out, everyone was like, holy shit, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, I watched that just the other day. I went back and watched it. Plot, simple as could be.
It's so simple
but it is so good.
Yeah. It's crazy to go back to Avengers now and be like, I watched it a few months ago and I was like, wow, this is actually really simple, but just clean.
It's so good though. Like the weight that movie had to take on. You recasted one of the most important characters of that movie, being the Hulk, and you made us love him. You made him grow. You made him finally capable of like pointing his anger. Dope. They fixed the whole thing. You created seeds of like civil war from the start. You allowed Thor to start being funny, even though he went on to make a really bad movie after this. Then he made an amazing movie where they basically like resurrected this character to become something great. Like, it's insane what that movie like had to do, and the fact that it was successful should be considered like a miracle.
No,
like,
the entire MCU is a miracle. Like the fact that we have Iron Man is a miracle. And like you just read all the way back to the fact that we have Shang Chi now is a miracle.
Exactly.
And like, man, I think we're just here to enjoy it.
Exactly.
It's just nice. It's just nice to
and
be
I think
here.
that is why, like, when I go back and I talk about like Black Widow, I'm just sitting here just going like, none of this should have happened, and it did, and so now my expectations are low, and like, it's like, this is amazing that we get to enjoy what we get to enjoy, because it shouldn't exist. I understand that will probably make me biased towards some of these films and be like, well, why did you like Black Widow but you hated Batman versus Superman? And I could go on and on and on and on. They just did their reps, and so there's a little more grace for them because they were willing to do the hard work early versus just trying to speed their way there. And then I feel like they earned kind of like a little bit of forgiveness here and there.
Yeah.
So like there are those Captain Marvels of it where it's like, oh, you tried just force feeding the formula into an MCU movie just because you had to get her origin story.
Yeah.
This was just a cash grab. You could have had Captain Marvel show up and you don't even need an origin story.
Right.
Don't even give a shit. Don't even care. Black Widow, did that movie even need to exist? No way, unless those characters are going to do something later on. And now we have a touch point. Shang Chi definitely needed to exist. Did some dope stuff. I'm super pumped for what's going to happen next.
This movie, if you can't tell, we really liked it.
Yeah.
Would you give a number score to this movie, my friend?
Yeah. Because the other thing too, they took the worst part of Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah,
and they redeemed it.
Oh yeah, they redeemed it.
Yeah.
A Mandarin. a fruit.
They owned it, and then they put Trevor in this movie and actually made him good.
How do we not talk about that?
Exactly.
Yeah, what the heck? Okay, yeah.
Trevor, the guy who pretended as an actor
Kingsley,
to be Mandarin in Iron Man 3, the worst part of that film was that we're not actually getting Mandarin. We're getting just a guy who's pretending to be a crime organizer. You know, like, you're just like...
They're just like, hilarious.
They leaned in and doubled down, and they're like, actually, we're going to give him, like, purpose now. He's just going to be this comedic character who can speak to this, like, mystical animal, and it's just like...
Great.
Holy
shit,
shit,
wonderful. You're
humble enough to say, we effed up.
Yeah.
We're going to put him in this movie, and we're actually going to make him, like one of the best characters in the movie. And it's going to be great. And I'm just like, yeah. And because of that, Shang Chi, no regrets, 9 out of 10.
Yo, I might be right there with you.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I think now just thinking about funny moments was like the part on the bus when the guy was live streaming to like the audience.
100%.
Oh my God.
Great.
Amazing.
Great.
Like, yo, it's your boy Felix or whatever.
Yep. Like and subscribe. Check this out. We got a bus fight. The Abomination fight with Wong.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was a great Easter egg. And now he's like maybe hanging out with Wong. What's Wong up to?
Yeah.
Wong's like working on his stuff.
Idea.
We got some stuff we got to figure out with Wong.
Wong.
For that alone. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10. In the front running for my favorite movie of the year. I haven't seen anything else that great.
It's true. The spice hasn't flown yet.
That's true. I think it might be the best movie
pre-Dune.
Pre-Dune. I think it's of the movies we have reviewed in this year. It's the best.
Yeah.
I think it's slightly better than I really enjoyed Suicide Squad.
I really enjoyed Suicide Squad too. I would watch Shang-Chi over it.
Yes.
I can have Shang-Chi just on in the background. For me, and I don't want to compare it because it just happens to have similarities, but like if my family's going to do like a movie night and we just want to throw on like Crazy Rich Asians because we just love that movie, half the cast of this movie is also the same as Crazy Rich Asians. This would be one of those Marvel movies where I could just be like, I'm going to do the dishes and I just want to watch a Marvel movie. I'm going to throw this on in the background.
Sure.
It's just a great watch. And there's so many different set pieces that like, even if I miss 5 to 10 minutes,
it's like, this is
I'm going to get to travel to another fun part. I'm going to get to travel to another fun part. It's all over the place. It's great.
They freaking fight on the side of a building.
The soundtrack's great too.
Oh yeah.
The score
Bangers.
Or whatever. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like the best parts of Black Panther, best parts of Doctor Strange. You get this magic side. It's not tech side.
Better than Doctor Strange in my opinion.
But like it's just there's no negatives. I can't think of a negative besides like you don't know the origin of the 10 rings. But even the flashbacks are great. Like
I would say maybe it's a little long.
Yeah, but they do some flashbacks. They explain. I mean, everything serves a purpose. There isn't a scene I would cut.
Yeah, I just feel like it was kind of predictable. I will say some negatives. It was like, oh, we're leading to this, and like,
sure.
I felt like it was a little long, 2.5 hours. I don't know.
Was it really 2.5?
Oh no, maybe like 2:12 or something like that.
Well, yeah, I think it was definitely 2+.
Yeah,
for sure.
I feel like I was just waiting for that final fight scene, and maybe that's why I was like, okay, I know we're gonna fight. I know we're gonna get this big scene. He's gonna release the bad guy, and
but the pacing of it for an origin story was still pretty good.
I wasn't even thinking of the origin story this entire time, which is crazy, which is great.
So I think for 2+ hours for what they had to tackle, I think is a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. There maybe you could have shed maybe like 5 minutes off, 5 to 10 minutes tops.
I mean, but really, is that even that?
Would I've really? Yeah.
I just think, well, why does this not get a 10 in your mind? Because like to me, a 10 is like, I don't think this is a perfect movie. I don't think it didn't. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's not a 10 because it doesn't I like the family element, but it's not like there's nothing really transcendent, I guess, about it.
Yeah,
it's an interesting word to use, but
I think the only reason it doesn't get a 10 is there are just some slightly rushed scenes of, like, I would say, like, the first act isn't the strongest.
Yeah.
But I would say that the third is by far a lot stronger than most third acts of, like, an overly CGI Marvel film. And so the first act is kind of like trying to throw you with curveballs of they're just screwing around and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but, like, he's super serious. And there's just, like, there's some things there that I think I kind of have some, like, issues with. I also just know that, like, to be a 10, to be, like, absolutely perfect, if I just start throwing those to every single thing, then what really is a 10? And so it's more or less just, like, I think they're, who knows, maybe Shang Chi 2 is it. Yeah. I think there's just more to this that I want, and because I didn't get all of it is why this is a 9.
I think what elevates it to a 9 is that third act where it's just so solid.
Right.
Where, like, a lot of, as we said, movies fall apart in the third act where it's like, hey, here's a big laser in the sky or whatever. And it's like, this just sells it and does it so well. And I'm like, I just don't think it's like, maybe it's just because I came off watching it recently that I'm enjoying it so much. Maybe time will tell it'll be bad. But, like, I just feel like, I just can't give it that 10.
The soul-sucking demon lizard thing also kind of just showed up at the end. Yeah. Like, it wasn't something that was even established prior to the second act. Like, it was literally like, here's this bad thing behind this gate. Guess what? Gate's getting opened. Yeah. And so, like, there's just some things where it was like, okay, but you were tackling all the family stuff. I understand why it happened. It would still been nice for us to, like, maybe get a villain that we actually knew instead of Dweller in the Darkness or something. Like, perhaps, like,
there was, like, the cliches of, like, things just kind of happened because, like, the story needed to
or
progress.
Why not, like, a tie-in with, like, Dormammu or something just to be like, hey, we get it, you know, or something.
I almost prefer it not being something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just generic enough that
to not give it a 10.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, and that's fine. I think the only reason this is a 9 out of 10 is because I think what we're about to get with Shang-Chi, like,
could be better.
If I could see third act Shang-Chi for, like, an Avengers film, why would that not be the best movie ever? Like, I'm excited. Like, if I could get that in-game scene over again with Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, holy shit, dude, that would be insane. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm just very excited. So it's more of a, don't hear 9 out of 10 as you failed in some way. It's like you did the best you could.
Oh, this exceeded my expectations.
So it's to the point where now I know, like, it can only get better. So therefore, I'm excited to give you a 10 out of 10 for maybe, like, what's next.
Yeah. This exceeded my expectations, and
exactly.
Like, I was expecting another Black Widow. It was like, oh, dude, the action was fun and blah blah blah, but, like, there was so much heart and so much uniqueness to it. Like, man, I love this movie.
It's good. It also held off for its second week as well to be number 1. So
we didn't talk about the Labor Day curse.
Yeah, it broke the record by, like, a lot. It beat out the previous record held over Labor Day weekend by, so the previous one was 30 million for the 4-day weekend, and it made 90. Yeah. It was insane.
It's wild to me that Labor Day is that weekend where no one just goes and watches movies.
It technically made slightly less than Black Widow did in its opening 3 days.
But Black Widow's an established character.
But Black Widow also dipped far lower in its second week, whereas Shang-Chi held on a lot longer. And so Shang-Chi actually beat out new movies that came out this past weekend. And actually held them off as a number 1 spot. So it didn't have as big of a dip as it naturally should, which shows you, A, the theaters are back for the right movies. They're not back for every movie, but for, like, Shang-Chi, they're coming out.
This is a movie I would highly, highly recommend seeing.
It's dope.
Theaters.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, there you go. You haven't heard any reviews on Shang-Chi, but...
No, wait. You said it wrong.
Shang-Chi.
No.
Shang-Chi! But you have heard from us. Not us. United. Well, there you go, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've just listened to Not Us United. You can find us under Not Us United on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please leave us a review and consider subscribing to our podcast. You can reach out for future podcast topic suggestions at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.